Live from Studio 3, this is Packaging Today with Evelio Mattos, Adam Peake, and Cory Connors.
Yo, what's up, everybody? How's it going? It is Monday. We got a bunch going on. Looks like Adam is having a hard time seeing. He's doing an eye test.
I was trying to find our YouTube video from last week.
Oh man,
I can't. Hang on.
banned. It got banned.
Got banned.
It's too controversial.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not on
We're not only banned in Belarus this time, we're banned globally.
in the world.
That's right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we used a controlled substance last week, so we apologize to all of our followers who think higher of us. But
Yeah.
we were infused with coffee, and apparently that's outlawed on the internet now. You can't drink coffee. So don't look.
Performance enhancing.
That's right.
No, it was Evelio decided to use the Olympics, and NBC frowns upon that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came after us. But so do us a quick favor. Let us know where you're coming from, where you're watching. If you're watching this, I never trust that number in the top corner. There's always at least 100 people watching this.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. That's what we told NBC when they were like, "How many people are watching your show?" And we were like, "Like more than the Olympics." I'll tell you that much. NBC,
Yeah.
you
right.
need us. You need us.
So they're our new sponsor now, right?
That's right.
Yeah, we've actually got. I think in the green room we have Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart who are going to be coming on
Oh
to
yeah.
discuss the intricacies of a medium and fluting.
Mhm.
Sea flute.
So we've got a special guest today. We're gonna bring him up. So just favors round of applause for
SN double OPDO double.
we got Brian.
That's not Martha
Hey, David,
Stewart.
what's up, man? How's it
Hey,
going?
what's up, guys? Sorry to disappoint.
Wah, wah.
No. This
morning,
this is a step up. What was Snoop going to talk about? Honestly, like
He doesn't know anything about boxing.
his 19 crimes wine labels that come alive. Come on,
Give me a
whatever.
break.
gin and juice packaging. I mean,
Actually,
that would have been pretty sweet. Actually,
no. The
could
gin and
do
juice
it.
packaging is terrible.
is it?
like-
I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to read. It's like a big white can, but
I hear it pairs well with gummy bananas.
Mm.
Brian, man, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks for being
being
on. And all right, so you're coming in from Orlando. You guys are having a hurricane. Is it a hurricane yet, or is it just building?
It's I believe it's a hurricane.
It's just
Well-
come right now.
Yeah, it's pretty normal for this time of year.
No big deal.
We were with it.
Brian, did you know that in the great state of Utah, we have a town that's spelled Hurricane, and you'd think moving here that would be called Hurricane, Utah. It is
Right.
not called Hurricane, Utah.
No.
So
What
if
is
you're
it?
ever there, it's pronounced Hurricane.
Hurricane.
Okay.
Hurricane.
All right. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. And connecting back to so Brian and I got to hang out in Orlando.
Yes.
And we talked about basketball a lot. The arguably the best high school basketball team in the entire United States this next year is going to be right down in Hurricane, Utah. Utah
Wow.
Prep is going to be probably, if not one of the best high school basketball team in the country. So, round of applause for Hurricane, Utah. Big boo.
How do you identify the best high school basketball team?
We use LCAs by our friends over at Trayak, where you should go get your entire LCAs done.
It's all about raw materials. I understand.
You just identify all the raw materials, and you got to collect your data using spec right. Or if you're trying to do it,
Scope 2-pointers, scope 3-pointers. I get it.
yeah. Scope. It's a slam dunk. You just want to know how's the material going to rebound. No, you just go get the best players in the world, and then they come to your school. That's pretty much what has happened. So there's like a guy from the New Zealand national team, the number 1 player in the country, AJ DeBonsa, who signed a pretty lucrative NIL deal to go there.
Go to high school?
To go to high school. He's paid money to go play high school basketball.
Shut up! Really?
Like millions of dollars for high school basketball players.
I'll go play basketball on a high school
You
team.
were not. No, you won't. You will not make it.
Times have changed.
Yeah. If you're so right now, like if you are the
paying millions of dollars, like high schools can't even afford like chairs and stuff.
private schools do though. Private schools.
That is nuts.
So yeah, it's a whole world. And in football, if you are the Michigan State Spartans and you want a top quarterback from the transfer portal, I believe it's like a minimum of $2 million these days to get like one of the best quarterbacks to come to your college.
Crazy.
What is a transfer portal?
Oh my gosh. Let's talk about packaging.
Yeah. I think we should have Mr. Davis introduce himself.
Yeah, I mean, this is good. This is sports education, you know.
You do not need. We're too far gone for that one. You can't teach an old raw dog new tricks. That's
true.
That's what
true.
What we always say. Brian, can you tell us about yourself, sir?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my name is Brian. I'm a packaging engineer. Went to Michigan State and
go Sparty. Go green.
Go green, go white. And I've been in the packaging industry for about 20 years now, throughout Central Florida, here and there. So,
but you grew up in Detroit.
Yes, from Detroit, Michigan, originally, born and raised, and now I'm a Floridian, as my wife says.
Brian, speaking of packaging, who is the best rapper to come out of Detroit?
Oh man.
I guess that's easy.
Rapper.
Palette rappers out of the Detroit area.
You might have heard of him as a guy. His name is Eminem.
Yeah.
Before, yeah.
I think that's probably a pretty. Is he like number one again? Like new album that's like one of like the number one rap album in the world.
Pretty good. It reminds me of the old Slim Shady.
Yeah,
but he's old this time around.
Yeah,
which is kind of nice, right? It's like we can still, us old guys still got it.
We can relate.
When my teenage son is like, "Did you hear the new Eminem album?" I'm like, "Man, I heard the old Eminem."
Original.
I was his age when he came out. Yeah, he's been doing it for a long time. Okay, so you're a Floridian now. Packaging. What type of packaging have you worked in, Brian?
Mostly foam packaging for most of my career. Up until recently, I got into the aerospace industry, working in packaging, designing packaging for aerospace parts. So that's pretty cool.
For parts or the entire aerospaces?
No, just for components and
it's a lot of foam.
Yeah,
big foam piece.
Yeah. Do you like the fact that coffee cup lids are made from the same material as styrofoam? It always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Whenever I see polystyrene on a coffee cup lid, and I'm like, no one's really upset about these, but everyone gets really upset at expanded polystyrene. It's like
right.
It's the amount of air.
Yeah, don't get me started on paper straws.
So this is your place. These are your people, Brian. You should get started on paper straws.
Yeah.
If there's any place in the world to get started on paper straws, it is this show.
All right.
No, but Brian, can you explain the difference in a PS lid and an EPS piece of foam? Like, I think that's a good point because I think a lot of people don't see.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same base material, but EPS would be like expanded polystyrene. It is recyclable, but it's not cost effective, so most people just throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
You can't recycle it in the regular recycle stream. It has to be recycled by the manufacturer. So the logistics of getting it back to the manufacturer is just not that worth what you're saving in making new expanded polystyrene. So
it's recyclable, but there's no value, or the cost to recycle it
outweighs. Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
The problem is just shipping, right?
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't weigh anything. So
transport it doesn't make sense financially, right? What kind of alternatives are you exploring for that, Brian? Are your customers asking you for bio-based materials, or what are they looking for?
Yeah, one of the biggest alternatives is molded pulp.
Mhm.
It's used a lot instead of the polystyrene. I've seen that a big replacement. Molded pulp, most of it comes from China, though. It's not as readily available here in volume.
Mhm.
But the fact that it's coming from China, you usually have to buy in bulk, like a container worth of it. So
Right.
it has to be high volume.
Yeah, and that tooling's not cheap. Although in the U.S. you can go to you can go to Footprint. Footprint. Those guys are crushing it here in Phoenix and a couple other places. But yeah, when you
And
come,
even like you've got like the paper foam people, they're making. I mean, that's not exactly like a molded pulp alternative, but they're doing some stuff with like injection molded trays, and there's dry molded fiber. We were talking, was it last week that we were talking about the starch based foam alternative that you
The
can
adhesive,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that
Meltdown.
you can make. Have you ever
Turning
played around with that?
peanuts
Like,
into-
do you eat it? Have you been in the foam industry so long that you just like buy it,
No,
pour
no, I
pour some
haven't.
syrup on it, and just like eat some starch peanuts?
No, not yet. I haven't come across that yet, honestly.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
that's
yeah, there's a ton of stuff. Yeah, the paper foam stuff. It's good for super lightweight product. You can't go heavy because it cracks, it breaks, and then it dusts like crazy. But yeah, there's a few things that I'm excited about. The WOMY, WOAMY. Those guys are doing a killer fiber-based EPS replacement, which has like some cushioning, and it's got a ton of killer properties. It's just getting started though, so they can't do it at scale yet.
Things like wheat straw taking over. There's exciting things coming in sustainable packaging.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. When talking about
Even like
sustainable packaging,
like
the
mycelium based. It's another one. Sorry,
what was it based?
mycelium mushrooms.
Your celium, yeah.
They're not just for hallucinating, Evelio. They can be used for packaging.
Yeah, sure they can. All right, so a couple stories to cover today. We got NRA, the National Restaurant Association. Some of the trends that are coming out of there. Big talking point was sustainable packaging. So typically you're going to see like new equipment, new processes, but a big talking point that came out there was sustainable packaging. And I think it was like PFAS, PFAS free was the big talking point.
And the transition away from styrofoam, which is what we were just talking about. These EPR laws are going to force restaurants to stop using styrofoam or polystyrene, if you're technical, for to-go containers. So they're all scrambling to find alternatives that are not made from that material.
Yeah. Are there EPR laws in Florida?
I haven't heard of any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so.
They usually wait till the end. Yeah, I think they're
Guys are like the Wild West.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
People are shipping styrofoam there now, right? Yeah.
So put it into the ocean.
That's
Just
right.
to see what happens. There's a whole styrofoam festival that happens down on down in Miami during spring break, and all the kids just go down and they dress in styrofoam and they run out in the water, and then it's just
heard of it.
Yeah,
everybody floats. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Brian, you
only
had a
3 people got eaten by alligators last year.
No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I was thinking about this because as I try to live sustainably, but also have a large family, I'm proud to admit that I eat at Chick-fil-A often, and but it's surprising to me how many restaurants still use cups that are made out of styrofoam, right? Like, it's got to be a cost benefit analysis, I would imagine. Like, why else would they still be in these cups? But there's a lot of them that are still in these cups.
Yeah.
It's just 'cause it's so cheap to make and so cheap to transport and it's so high performing.
Yeah, they work. Customers like them because they keep their drinks cold or hot, and that's changing quickly because they won't be allowed to use them. So Russell, our friend, the packaging scientist, just posted about Chick-fil-A, new cup that is a fiber-based insulative cup. So
big news.
That's exciting. You know,
it's the biggest
coming
news
around
since McDonald's went to all white meat for their chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
We got Michael Esposito's sharing how they're adding some biodegradable additives to their material. So what's the name of your company, Michael? Go ahead and throw it in the comments.
orangepkg.com. I think it's in the comment.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Big brand clients are using it. orangepkg.com. All right. Excellent. All right. So then in terms of sustainability in the restaurant.
Hang on. I need some more questions on this because I'm just reading the comment. I don't want to move forward. So Brian, you're our foam expert here. So Michael is saying, so they are putting an additive, a biodegradable additive, and it says the plastics degrade in landfills in 2 years with no microplastics. Because this has been a question that I've always had, right? Do you know, well, number one, are you familiar with this? Or maybe Michael, you can jump in the comments here, but like, from what I know about the majority of landfills, stuff is not meant to break down in the landfill.
Right.
And it's a difficult test because landfills are so variable. There's so many different landfills throughout the US. It's almost like saying home compostable. It's like the variables of that. Are you familiar with this additive, or what do you know about a material like like a EPS being able to break down in a landfill? Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't. That's quite impressive. 2 years.
Because how long would it normally last? Like 1,000? Like, is it gonna outlive me?
No, but 20 years is pretty realistic. So to see that they can do it in 2 years with this additive is pretty impressive.
Okay, you can't be doing aerobics there, is what he says. So there's no Pilates or okay, enzymes see plastic as food and then they eat it. Okay, so the enzymes are in the plastic. They don't need to be fed. The enzymes just live, I'm guessing, and then they just eat the plastic, and then it's interesting. I don't know how all this stuff works. Like, I didn't go to Michigan State. I went to the Colorado State.
It's the Michigan State of the West of the Rockies.
It's the Michigan State of the Rockies, yeah. But people don't talk about it as much.
No.
Yeah.
All right. So
go ahead.
As we move through some of the stuff here, we got Mars candy. One of the things they're out there saying that they doubt that they're going to be able to achieve all of their 2025 sustainability packaging targets. Now we've talked about this before. A lot of brands out there are kind of having the same issue where they're not going to hit their targets. They've got to then debate internally whether or not they're going to state this and say we're not going to make the target, or they're going to wait till 2025 when they're like hoping nobody notices and they just kind of skip over it.
Just kidding. Yeah.
But I think early on in the show we were talking about, there was a few brands, I think it was even McDonald's, that had like 2030, 2032 targets. And we were like, why are they pushing it out so far? Why don't we just, why don't they make it happen sooner? But now we're seeing why people can't make it happen sooner. It's not, changing your packaging isn't done quickly, right? It's supply chain, it's testing, it's materials. It's like an entire infrastructure that has to happen, that has to be updated in order for this to even get started. So like Michael says, even Unilever, they're not gonna be able to hit their target. So when it comes to targets, what are you guys seeing out there? Like what's real? What do you think is realistic? And do you have any clients that are going through this?
I don't have one client, I don't think, that set a goal in like 2020 or 2021 that is on pace to hit it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, I wouldn't be like, this is the time to bash the companies, right? I think they took some big swings. And as Brian was talking about with recycling EPS, it's when you start saying like, we're going to have X amount of post-consumer recycled content, but there's nothing driving the recycling other than you saying something,
No
and you're not
material.
incentivizing the recyclers to actually. There's just not enough material in the waste stream in order for these companies to all hit their goals. And so I think they're kicking the can down the road, understandably, because they're not going to make it. I would rather have them be honest about it than cross their fingers and hope
Mhm.
that they're not going to make it, because it's the internet. People are going to go find it, and then they're going to put it out there, and
Right.
you're going to be shamed on all of the platforms.
There was
Yeah.
a big pressure to make a statement, right? In like you said, 2020, 2021, people felt the sense of urgency to say, "Hey, we're going to be sustainable too," and now they're saying, "It's taken longer than we thought." Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is market driven. I went through a similar situation when trying to transition from wooden crates to
Mhm.
plastic crates. And it's just the suppliers' willingness to stock a new material for something
Right.
that's a low volume in the beginning. And it's hard to find it. The logistics of getting it from the supplier to the warehouse, it's just it takes time, and less people are willing to make that leap. It's hard to get some traction going initially.
Well said.
Yeah. That's the challenge, right? It's like when you make a change, it's not like, right, no, we got to replace a 1,000,000-piece order. It's like, no, we got to slowly bring it in, and then
Mhm.
suppliers aren't necessarily willing to do 1,000 pieces, or and that's kind of for everything.
Hey, Brian, can we
Um,
hang out here because I think this is interesting. So you had a project, because none of us are actual packaging engineers. We just play one on TV. So you had a project where the sustainable alternative, or the sustainable move, was going from wooden crates to plastic crates. Because
Yes,
we spend a lot of time helping brands go the opposite direction, right?
exactly. And as soon as I said it, I thought of that. I said,
No. I think it's interesting,
but the
but it makes
reason,
sense.
yeah, the reason is because the wooden crates were single use and the plastic
Mm,
crates were reusable multiple times.
love that.
So you would think that it would be the other way around, but we were actually being more sustainable by using reusable crates. And it was also regional. So like the locations that we had, like in the Pacific Northwest, were more adaptive to this idea. We got those implemented right away with no issues. But the further we got to the Southeast, there was a little more reluctance in making that switch. It wasn't deemed as necessary as it was, in some of our other sites. So you can kind of see the trend kind of, heading in a certain direction.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it's cool. I mean, because it also impacts the bottom line positively, right? If you can get a lighter weight material that is going to be reused, you have to buy one crate and it can be used whatever 10 to 15 times rather than buying 10 to 15 crates.
Mhm.
It's always fascinating to me that there would be people who are like, no, we want to
Right.
keep spending more money.
This is how we do it, right?
And it's heavier. So freight is going to be more expensive. It's like that to me is a perfect win. And I'm guessing that the plastic is even able to be, recaptured again at the end of its life, right?
Right.
And that can be like a closed loop system where I think plastic can really shine. I'm sure Jonathan Quinn would have some thoughts on this. The new president of the U.S. Plastics Pact, by the way, congratulations to
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Big news.
But it's just important. I think it's important for people to realize that the answer is not always move away from plastic to a paper-based alternative. That's not always the right answer. And you just highlighted a perfect use case of it.
Yeah. No, and packaging isn't just wrappers and boxes, right? Like
Right.
packaging extends all the way down to how are you going to transport stuff, right? The pallets, shrink wrap. Some people even think labels are packaging, but that's okay.
Nerds.
They are very much packaging.
Allegedly.
Oh my gosh. It's the most important. It's the most important thing.
Stickers. So in this article on Waste Dive about Mars not hitting their date, they've got a statistic in here. They've got by the numbers, 2023, 61% of consumer-facing packaging is designed to be recyclable, compostable, or reusable. which is up 57% from 2022, and that's for Mars, right? So that's 61% of the packaging is recyclable, compostable, or reusable. Compostable, that's the challenge, right? Because in Arizona we don't compost. I don't know. Do they compost in Florida?
Yes, recently they just started. Actually, you can actually call the waste company and get a compost bin now.
Oh wow!
Wow. For food scraps or for packaging, Brian, or both?
It's probably both. I haven't got mine yet.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Good.
But yeah, I believe it's for both.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, that's the challenge. Is a lot of brands are like, we're going to compostable, and it's like, well, then what? Nobody can collect it, separate it.
Yeah, and then I was reading this article, and it also says that most of the compostable material requires temperatures that can only be achieved in like a professionally managed commercial environment. So people can't even compost it at home. What's the point, so to speak?
Yeah, that's the challenge.
When we had Justin Garrity on, he did a good job of highlighting some of the challenges that they're having because he runs a compost facility, and that was kind of the first time that I had thought about the fact that if it's not properly labeled with labels, marked, it's probably better. But if it's not certified, he's like, we have people who are physically going through all of the compost and pulling things out because their whole goal is to sell organic compost back out into the market. So when
that
you understand their goal, that's what has the value. And packaging is not organic compost. And so even if it makes it there, it still has to be sorted away from the food scraps, and it has to go to its own separate place so that it can turn into a different type of compost that requires more effort, more money, and more time to make, and has a lower value in the current market. So it's like, it's no wonder a lot of it just ends up in the landfill, because if you're a composter, it costs you less money to landfill it than it does to process it. So that was a really interesting point. He's like, we do process it. We're open to it. He wasn't anti-packaging, compostable packaging. He's just like, but you have to mark it with some sort of certification, or else we don't know and we just throw it away. And like World Centric, I posted something about that. They came in and they were like, no, we don't pay for BPI any longer because of all these different reasons. And he's like, yeah, that makes sense, but we still don't know. So we just throw it away. I thought it was an interesting point that I had never really thought about.
They have a field testing program. I think it's through Compost Manufacturing Alliance, where you can get your compost material actually tested to see.
That's great.
Yeah.
Is it raining out there, Brian?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty windy too.
Is it like scary hurricane starting, or is it like?
Can you go do one of those like weather reports for us where you're like outside?
Rain's like,
yeah. I'm coming to you live from Hurricane Debbie.
No, man. Well, I appreciate you being on, Brian. I think it's
thanks, Brian.
Awesome it's always great to get like new perspectives and kind of see what's going on in packaging.
And an actual engineer.
Thanks
for having me, guys.
No, for sure. And then Brian, you're doing so you study packaging engineering. You do so you work with different materials, pack different products. So if anyone's out there looking for some packaging that needs engineering, Brian's the guy, right?
Absolutely. You can
reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Perfect. Oh, that's awesome. Dude, one thing before we go here. I don't know why, but I chose Thursday, I chose to listen to Joe Rogan's interview with Terrence Howard.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys have heard this thing.
He's out there, yeah.
If you guys have not heard this thing, you guys have got to listen to it. I'd say the first hour, maybe the first 30 minutes, I'm like, man, Terrence is nuts. This guy sounds like he's crazy. And then like the next hour, I'm like, man, this guy's this guy's making some really, really interesting points. And by the third hour, I'm like, man, I'm subscribed to Terrence Howard. He's like re-engineered the entire universe, like reverse engineered the universe.
That's how you end up believing the Earth is flat, though. You're just like, this guy's crazy, and you're like, I listened to 4 hours more of YouTube, and I was like, maybe they're onto something.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, how is this, happening? So if you listen to us,
this makes way more sense than a globe, actually. Now that I need to join this Reddit group, and then Evelio's just gone.
Well, that's what happens. But he's like a lot of our. A lot of the math that science is based on. He's like, so those people thought the world was flat. So how are they going to be thinking in 3 dimensions when they're just thinking, things are in 2 dimensions? It's like, oh yeah, that's could make some sense. He's all Einstein, idiot. That's pretty good. Definitely go check it out and report back next Monday. Guys, what do we got going on as we're wrapping up here?
I think somebody saw somebody commented about the National Rifle Association, and this clearly has no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah. Thank you for your input, but that's not what we're talking about.
Restaurant Association. By the way, I was telling my son, I was like, I'm gonna make a shirt that has like onomatopoeias for packaging, like pop, and he's like, Bop means something totally different now. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, like, I'm like, oh, you're like kids are bopping together? He's like, yes. Like, so you make babies? He's like, uh-huh. I'm like, sure it is.
You got to instigate. You got to create clickbait. That's why I led with NRA. All right, guys. Thanks so much for being on. Thanks for joining us. You can keep watching this on LinkedIn, on YouTube. Do us a favor, go subscribe to whatever you want to subscribe to. We'll see you next week.
Live from Studio 3, this is Packaging Today with Evelio Mattos, Adam P.